Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and today we're going to be discussing faith, trust, preparedness, and just shenanigans in the world at large. Let's go ahead and get into it. Vegan Prepper. Vegan Prepper. Alright, so today it's on my heart to address this idea that if we have faith and if we really trust, then we don't have to prepare because God's taking care of us and He will meet all of our needs and all of that. And so we don't have to worry about the future because God is taking care of our needs. And I do definitely 100% believe that it is true that God loves us and wants to meet our needs and take care of our needs. I will disagree though with any application of that truth which absolves me of my responsibility for living in my life. So I think that if we want to take this belief that God is providing for us and taking care of us to this kind of extreme, which means that now I don't need to prepare because God is sovereign, and if He wants me to live, I'll live. If He wants me to die, I'll die. Like this almost fatalistic attitude, if we want to take it to that extreme, then I think you'd have to take it to the farthest extreme of that. So then why are you even working a job and getting money to purchase things? If God is sovereign, if He wants you to have a house, you'll have a house. If He doesn't want you to have a house, you won't have a house. If He wants you to eat, then you'll eat. If He doesn't want you to eat, then you won't eat. So why are you going to the grocery store to buy food? You know, like, why aren't you waiting for it to be just dropped on your doorstep? Not like by some grocery delivery service that you ordered from, but you know, like I don't know, like a stork or something, maybe delivering your food instead of a baby. I don't know. It's like, I think that honestly, for me personally, I look at all of these attitudes and it kind of grieves my heart for one thing, because I think that there are some very well-meaning people who want to be full of faith and really truly believe in these things. And I think that in a lot of ways, sometimes people might feel like if they do take actions towards preparedness, it's tantamount to saying that they don't believe that God will take care of them or will provide for their needs. And I just don't believe that that's true. I think a lot of times what we are provided by God, not only the things, not only the items that we need to keep ourselves safe, I believe many times He provides us a grace of a time period. So like a period of time where we are able to take care of things and bolster something before something comes, right? Before something happens. Like we talk about, or like in the Bible, Jesus was talking about, you know, the house that was built on the sand versus the house that was built on the rock. And then when the storms came, and it's when the storms come, when tragedies and circumstances happen, the one that's built on the sand crumbles and falls, and then the one that's built on the rock stands firm and is safe, even in the storm. And so that's because these people prepared, they built on a good spot. And so I understand that there's a deeper theological meaning to that story, but for now, for the sake of the length of the video, I'm going to kind of keep it like surface level and a bit short. This is just a very practical application of that story, is to build on the rock, build on something solid, build on a firm foundation. And for me personally, I feel like preparing for my family, making sure that we have plenty of food stocked up for, you know, a relatively nice period of time. It's not saying that I don't believe that God will take care of me. It's saying that I'm grateful for one thing, for wisdom, which He gave to me, right? The word also says that if I lack wisdom, I can ask and believe that He'll give it to me. And so He's given me wisdom to see potentially, like, you know, if those dark clouds are on the horizon, you know, to make sure that that house is built on the rock and not on the sand. And so, yeah, it's very difficult for me, honestly, to enter the headspace of kind of that fatalistic attitude of not being willing to prepare at all because you're trusting in the provision of God and believing in his ability to get you what you need. I've shared on the channel before that story of like a person, say, who's in a flood, like his house is flooding, and he asks God to save him. God, save me. So a boat comes along, and the man, they say, here's a boat, get in the boat so that we can take you away from your house. And the man's like, no, I'm waiting on God to save me. And then eventually he's on the roof of his house because the floodwaters have come up so high, and even a helicopter comes by, and the person on the helicopter says, here, get up here, we'll get you out of this mess. And he's like, no, I'm waiting on God to save me. And so in the story, it's obviously just a pretend story. The man dies, he goes to heaven, and then he asks God, like, what on earth? I thought that you said that, I thought that you were going to save me. And God says, I sent you a boat, I sent you a helicopter, I tried, basically, and you didn't accept what I offered. And I think that there's a lot of people, unfortunately, who are in this headspace of kind of a blind and I don't know. I have a theory about it, and I'll share in just a second, but just in that place of that kind of blind, but like there's a point in life many times when blind faith is warranted in certain situations. But I think that sometimes the blindness is not cutting out the noise and focusing on the truth. Sometimes the blindness is like willful ignorance. So I guess I'll go ahead and tell you my theory. I think my theory is that some people become so afraid of the potential things that can happen that they just basically bury their heads in the sand and don't take action because they're too afraid to take action. And so that's why, for me personally, it ends up being really important for me in this space of the prepping YouTube channel community of people that I am a voice of reason and a voice of hope, a voice that speaks hopefully to get people to take those actions that are necessary, but not from a place of fear, from a place of understanding that this is just a wise and practical thing to do. It's very important for me to approach it from that way, because I don't want to send somebody off into, like an ostrich, put their head in the sand, and then end up, I don't know, just being completely blown over by whatever storm comes. So I really wanted to talk about this again, even though I have made a video on the channel before about faith and prepping. I honestly didn't rewatch it before I made this one. I just want to talk about it again, and I think I'm going to talk about it more. I think it might become like almost a little series. Every time I think of another thing to say on it, I might make another little video. I just feel like it is so important for people to realize that faith does not preclude us from action on this earth. Like, God may part the sea, but it's up to us to still walk through it. Like, he's not going to carry you across it. You know what I mean? Like, there's always like a point at which we do have a piece of the action, right? And it isn't like, nobody's going to say, because God still is the one who parts the sea. He still is the one who gets credit for the miracle, because nobody's going to be like, wow, you did such a good job walking across that parted sea. Like, all of the glory and the honor is going to be on God for parting that sea, right? But we do have like a place where we kind of have to move. Like, he opens a way, so now I move. And I feel like what we have right now in the world, unfortunately, many things going on that are deeply concerning to us all. And I think that right now, at least some of us are being gifted a time, just like a grace period of time, where God is parting away and he's saying, look, walk through here and just get a little extra for whatever is coming down, as much as we possibly can, in order to secure our family. So my hope, my desire for this whole channel, honestly, my whole life, is to reduce suffering. I want to reduce suffering in the world. That is crux number one reason that I am vegan. I just want to reduce suffering. And honestly, I also want to increase the security of the world. That's in our About page on the channel. That's what we have been about from the beginning. The more people that can be prepared, the more secure the world will be if something should go down. Like, imagine the more people who are prepared, the more secure the world is. It's just like, it's just, I think it's like common sense. Understanding too that we can't always trust the power. We can't always, oh goodness, I'm too nice sometimes. Honestly, I have to be like firm on this. We cannot trust at all the powers that be to rescue us or save us should something happen, even natural disasters, right? Like we see that flooding comes, Hurricane Ida came through, right? There were people who were without any power or any running water for weeks, even months after that disaster. It took forever for some places to receive, a rebuilt infrastructure after that tragedy, after that, circumstance went through. Like, even if the government works really hard, they can't, even if they have all good intentions to take care of everything, which I don't necessarily know that that's true. If they have all good intentions to take care of everything and everyone, even still, they can't move fast enough. There could potentially be a delay to that aid. I also think that we can't, and sometimes I do wonder that too, like, do people trust, like they're trusting their government more than they're trusting their God? Just assuming, oh, the government's going to take care of me, so I don't have to do anything. I think that that's part of it too. And just sort of really thinking, and I'm not trying to be political here at all. I'm neither side. I've shared that on the channel before too. I don't think, sorry, now my brain is like, I'm really trying to tread carefully, because this is always, again, I'm about including people. I'm about bringing people in. I'm not about pushing people out. So I don't want to push people of different ideological views out of my world. In fact, I think the more different we are, almost the more I want you in my world, because I want to hear what you have to say. I think it's even more important to hear the voices that disagree with us than it is for us to hear the voices that do agree. But I mean, I'm not even speaking politically. I think pretty much everybody will agree that all of these systems that are in place that are said to be there to help us, for the most part, they exist to perpetuate themselves. And so those systems are in place to perpetuate themselves, often at the expense of the very ones that they say that they are going to help. And so the first priority of any of these systems is always going to be to preserve themselves and not to preserve the very people that are supposed to be the ones who are actually the ones in charge. And so it's just deeply concerning to me that there are still people, after these years that we have just passed, that are still potentially not taking steps towards preparedness, towards reducing of suffering, towards increasing the security of the world at large. And so, yeah, I just feel like I have to get on here and talk about it a little bit, and I don't mean to be a downer. So what does it mean to have faith and to have trust, and then to still prepare? And I think that we can't put our faith or trust in systems and powers that be, earthly powers that be. We can put our trust in God, but I think one of the most amazing and important ways to trust God is to not trust him like he's a genie and he magically poofs things into our lives. That, like I said, like a brand of faith that robs me of my responsibility in my daily life, but rather trusting him for direction, for the right way to go, and for those moments in life when there's, some sea that needs to be parted, and that he will step in and do the thing that needs to be done. He will make a way where there is no way. And yet I still am an autonomous being. I still have free will, and I still, am responsible for walking this life, right? Walking through this life myself. And I don't hand over that, that autonomy, that free will, because I'm just trusting him to blink things into my life at the right time. And not that he doesn't do that, but I'm just saying, like, he will, like, perform miraculous things. But one of my favorite sayings I've ever heard is from a pastor at my church. He said that if we follow the principles of God, then we won't need as many of the miracles of God. So it's like you just follow the principles and you won't need the miracles because you'll be set, because God is infinitely practical. And I definitely believe in the supernatural power of God. And I believe that he works, but I also believe, like I said, he's given us wisdom for a reason. And so anyway, I don't mean to be talking circles, but let me close with a quick story because I never want to leave heavy, because I've seen amazing, really sweet little things happen in my life over and over again. I see where God drops the right thing and does the right thing. But I also believe that, like I said, we are responsible, that it's grace, right? That the law was handed out, and the law did not require any kind of relationship whatsoever. The old law, that list of rules, that was basically like I could get my laundry list from God. As long as I check all my boxes, I'm fine. I don't ever even need to talk to him. And so that was the law. And for me personally, that's kind of what that is. And then grace, though, not only does grace and everything that Jesus did, it opens up the possibility of a relationship with him. I believe it opens up the requirement of a relationship with him, because now I don't get a laundry list every single day. I have to be talking to him and praying and acknowledging him, right? Like the word says, acknowledging him in all of my ways, and he will direct my path, right? So I have to acknowledge him and have that relationship, because I no longer have, a laundry list of things that I can do and then call myself holy because I've done that laundry list. No, all of that's been taken care of now. I'm set because of Jesus, but like, I have to be with him to get the direction for my life and to know where I should go and what I should do. But anyway, my little story I would like to tell, just because it's so sweet. And it might look like I'm negating everything I just said, but I'm not meaning to. It's more, this is, I think, the trust part that comes in. That for me personally, like I said, I don't prep from fear. I prep hopefully from a place of wisdom, but I also don't have anxiety or fear over like, what am I missing? Because I do trust then that wherever there are gaps that need to be filled, that is now where God works and he fills a gap. Either he's going to fill it by making me aware of it so that I can take care of it, or if some situation happens before I've been able to take care of it, he'll end up filling that. I trust that. Basically I have shared, I think briefly on the channel before, like Adam and I have definitely not always had a very secure financial footing. I feel like even just in the last few years really is when he and I have become the most financially stable that we have ever been. So we've been married about 18 years now. For a huge portion of our marriage, that was absolutely not true. And there were a lot of years of struggle. And so I remember in particular one time, our 9th wedding anniversary, we had like just practically $0. Like there was just nothing. We didn't end up being able to do presents for each other, and we certainly couldn't go out to eat or do anything. But what we did do was we took the kids over to my grandma's house, and then it was also the day, it happened to be the very day that it was time for me to go pick up our food box from the food bank, because seriously, this is where we were. And so I remember dropping the kids off and then going to pick so that they could, hang out with my grandmother, and then Adam and I could have an evening together, and that's basically what we were going to get. And then I was going to cobble together. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed because this still touches my heart so much. I went to pick up the box from the food bank because I'm going to cobble together our anniversary dinner from whatever I managed to get out of this box. And so for the first time ever in that box, and I've never seen a box like this before or since, in that box at the food bank. And we were not vegan at the time. But still, so somebody might get mad at this, but I just see the sweetness of God in this whole story. In that box was organic cheese tortellini, So it's like fancy filled pasta. Like even today, even like if I have a vegan version, I don't spend money on fancy filled pasta. That's crazy. But like I got fancy filled pasta, like multiple colors, you know, because like they were colored with like the spinach and the tomato and everything. I got organic salad greens, feta cheese, organic pears. There was a little bottle, and I'm not kidding you, a little bottle of sparkling cider, apple sparkling cider. And I'm trying to remember what else was in there. I'm pretty sure it was a packet of fresh herbs, like basil, like one of those combo packs of like basil, rosemary, something like that. And there was like some other things in there too, but those were the things. And I remember getting the box and looking at it and just like not being able to believe what I was seeing in that box. And so Adam actually went, because we had like almost no dollars, but he went just to see if he could grab something else, because like I said, we were not vegan. So we were looking for meat at the time, not meat, actual meat. But he went to the store. And then he found, it was Fresh and Easy. I don't know that those even exist anymore, but he went to Fresh and Easy and they had organic prosciutto on like major clearance because it was expiring the next day. So he got like super fancy cut of like the super fancy meat for just a stupid small amount of money. It was like $2 or something for this big thing of prosciutto. And he brought it home. And so our anniversary dinner ended up being a pear feta salad with cheesy tortellini and prosciutto and fresh herbs. Oh yeah, there were cherry tomatoes in the box too, and like cut cherry tomatoes. And then I just dressed it very simply with the herbs. It was just like garlic and olive oil and salt, you know, on the pasta and stuff. But that sparkling cider, we had like such a fancy dinner that night, probably fancier than we would have had if we had gone out to eat. And it was like free. It was just dropped into our laps. And I will never forget that for as long as I live, because of how sweet it was. And it was just that, like I said, I never saw another food box like that. It was like basically like God ordered a fancy Italian dinner for our anniversary for our food bank box. And that's exactly what we got. It's unreal to me still, looking back at that. But the thing is, that is the kind of thing, and that's not the only story I have. I have a million stories like that in my life. But see, like that was a moment where it's like, we didn't have anything. And it wasn't like our fault that we didn't have anything. We just had, you know, we've made a lot of sacrifices, because people say like, how do you manage with a single income? There were times where we barely managed with a single income, but we worked at keeping me home because we believed it was important for me to be home. That has shown to be true more times than I can even count. But also for us personally, it almost makes no sense for me to work, because if I work, basically all of my money would be going to daycare. That's the situation that we were in. There's a lot of people like that. So for me, it was like I'd bring home maybe $50 a month, working, you know, 30, 40 hours a week, because all of the money would end up going to daycare. Plus we wouldn't have somebody to be there when the kids were sick. Plus we would, you know, so it just never was worth it to us to have me working. And so I stayed home. But there were definitely times, like I said, when we were getting food from the food bank, and that's how we made ends meet during those times. And so I understand that there are people out there who are dealing with that very same thing, and probably about to go through that very same thing, if they haven't before, with times coming up. But the thing is, I don't know, like God, sorry, and I don't have my thoughts organized on this part, because I'm still like kind of like, I'm feeling again those feelings of that gratitude of that box. Like God does do things, like he does come through, and he didn't just give us food, he gave us a beautiful dinner for our anniversary. You know what I mean? Like he's over and above. And so definitely never misconstrue my saying like we have to be responsible for saying that God never does anything. I think you cannot camp on either extreme, right? You have to believe that he provides. You also have to believe that, you know, there's a reason that I'm here with free will, breathing, and he's not up there just with me on a string, right? Like, he's not working me like a puppet. Like, I have something to do with my life, but he absolutely takes care of things. And so for me, I do have a sense of trust because I've seen it over and over and over again that he comes through and he does things. And so my message is hopefully one that is of hope, that you'll hopefully, if you haven't been able to take those steps before, to take some steps and trust that he's going to give you something. And that's what I believe. And I'm praying for that for you, that you'll start seeing things happen, right place, right time. You're going to show up at the store and all of a sudden there's going to be a giant display of like this clearance bulk food or something that you've been wanting. And you're going to be able to get way more than you expected to get for, you know, much less money. And that happens to us all of the time. Stuff like that. Oh my gosh, all the time. And I just pray that people are able to kind of balance that idea of God's sovereignty with our free will, and like the trust and the faith and the prepping. And I don't even know. Do I have a conclusion? I don't have a conclusion. I just have a bunch of stories, and then hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying, even though I don't know that I can adequately express in words what I'm trying to say. So overall, it's a message of hope, that he is a good God who still does do things, but I do believe that we do have a part, and I don't know, but yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. He's fine. He's got it. Trust him. And then in all your ways, acknowledge him. He will direct your paths. He will show you where to go, what to do, and he'll make those things happen right when they're supposed to happen. But anyway, I do remember though, that night on our 9th anniversary, staring at Adam in the candlelight and thinking, this is perfect. Like, even if I hadn't gotten the fancy dinner, just staring at that man, if that's all I have, then I have won the jackpot. I still feel the same way. So anyway, we're good. The best things in life are not things. But we want to protect that. So anyway, keep prepping. And yeah, hopefully that was good. Hopefully that was remotely useful at all. And like I said, I may continue making some videos on this topic as I think of more things, hopefully a little bit more organized than that. But anyway, I guess that's all. And I truly do appreciate every one of you. I feel a genuine affection for you, and I pray for you all of the time. And I just do pray that all of us are provided for in miraculous ways. But yeah, let's continue doing what we can do. So as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. See you guys later. Bye.